The CSV import function in SI5 allows you to do a bulk import of product data. CSV stands for comma separated values, which is a comma delimited spreadsheet format in Microsoft Excel. You access this function via our Manage My Product Data interface, or MMPD interface. In here, we have an import tab, and one of the options here is CSV Import. The functionality is actually quite simple. You browse to your CSV file, use this options button to map any fields, choose import. Although you can use any CSV file, such as ones provided by manufacturers or dealers, you may find it easier to use our built-in CSV template file to help standardize your process. The trouble with price sheets is that oftentimes you won't get them in a spreadsheet format. You'll receive a PDF or some other file format, and even if you do receive a spreadsheet from a manufacturer, there is no standardization of data content or format. Here are a few examples of that. The manufacturer names and pricing used in these examples are for example only and are completely fictitious. Here's an example of a spreadsheet where it looks very nicely laid out, however it's not going to correspond exactly with our database. As you can see, they put what I guess they're considering a category here. We would consider this a type. You would need a separate field for categories, a separate column, I should say. Then they list their model numbers, descriptions, pricing. So it's pretty well laid out, but it still does need some work to bring in. Here's another example where once again you're going to need to make some changes to this when you're putting categories directly in the same column as, in this case, descriptions. You would need to break these out into separate columns and then map those columns to the corresponding fields in our database. It is much easier to open the CSV template and copy and paste into the proper fields. To create a template, just use the click here to create a new empty import file option here. Go ahead and give it a name. We'll go ahead and save this, and it opens up, and as you can see, each field in our database has its own column assigned to it for easy import. Now, there are 3 required fields in order to import a product, and those are manufacturer, model, and category. You absolutely must have all 3 of those filled in. Now, when you're filling out a category, you're going to want to name this exactly as it appears in your SI5 database. In order to see a list of those, you can go back to the Manage My Product Data interface, click the Administration tab, and the first sub-tab here is Categories. So you're going to want to spell these exactly as they appear here on your spreadsheet. Here's an example of a spreadsheet filled out and ready for import. As you can see, every product has manufacturer, model, and category assigned to it. Type is optional, but it's essentially subcategory. It's used to further identify products, so feel free to fill that in. A description is nice for creating proposals, so you can use enter a product description as well as a client description here if you'd like. Now the important stuff here, of course, is pricing. We have 3 levels of pricing in SI5. A, B, and C pricing. Here you can set your unit cost and unit price A, B, and C. In this case, I've just done the A columns here. Now, some information that is not going to be in your dealer spreadsheets that you get are right here, the phase and the unit labor hours. Once again, you're going to want to name the phase exactly as it appears under your SI5 setup tab. Generally, it's going to be either rough-in, trim, or finish. But make sure you assign the phase and the number of unit labor hours. This is how labor gets charged in SI5. Of course, you can enter an MSRP if you want to use it as a reference point. And one other thing to do would be to set your taxable column. Most often, products are going to be taxable. This is a Boolean value, so it's either going to be true or false. Now, this is technically proposal-ready data at this point. Once imported, you could, of course, add a JPEG image to the product if you want those to print on your reports. But there's enough data here to essentially charge for these products when added to a project. Other information that you could fill in the spreadsheet might be the height, width, and depth fields, if you have them for the product. You can see that those are over here. That's for doing elevation drawings in either Visio or AutoCAD. You're probably not going to want to do your inputs and outputs for the products in this interface, though, if you plan to do schematics. Once you import the products, go ahead and open them and then use our IO Studio in order to enter the inputs and outputs. I'm ready to import this file. I'm going to go ahead and just close it. Just choose no to the save here. To import the CSV file, I will browse to it. choose open. Here you will see all the fields that are pre-mapped for this CSV import. If you wish to change any of these fields, use the options button. Here you will see that this column lists the database fields. Over here are the import file fields. This would definitely be important if you're trying to use your own CSV file, but as I mentioned, you may want to just copy and paste into our template. It's a whole lot easier. Clicking the default mappings will, again, reset any changes that you made out here. When you're ready to import, simply click the import button. You'll be prompted to back up your local database. You can do that if you'd like. I'll choose yes and then click OK on the message. And then you'll get a little message over here stating that the import is complete. Go ahead and click OK on that. Now if you want to manage this data further, just go ahead and click Finish on the CSV import, and you can manage your data under the Product Grid tab or the Product Explorer tab. Here I'll filter out to the products that we just imported. Go by type here, and here they are. I can further edit them in the fields here. I can open the specifications on a particular product to add an image or adjust anything such as inputs and outputs using the IO Studio here. You can also export this out to Excel, which will automatically create a CSV file with the data that you filtered to here. Then you can use the import CSV function once again to pull the data back in. You could do that if you prefer to, say, update your pricing in Excel versus doing it directly in our product grid interface.